Alright, so let's go through these cultivation stages and talk all about that. I've drawn up a basic diagram of essentially the main cultivation stages, at least according to one story, and to ideas like Guotian, Shantian, and the kind of ranks within a rank. Because within body training there are lower, mid, upper, and peak chi refining or energy refining. The same thing as well. Anyway, so what does all this mean? How do you rank yourself? Another question is any of this stuff real? That's another big one. Because where does this actually come from? Well, as far as I know, old schools and traditions had their own way of ranking, and more or less they all related to one another. I mean, the most obvious is that the first thing you would do is train your body. It's pretty simple. Probably the second obvious thing is that you would learn to use your energy. And these are just natural things that anyone's going to figure out, any culture. So I believe it became ingrained. Mostly now, unless you can read Chinese and you can read all the ancient books. For example, apparently, if anyone knows about the idea of Mopai and John Chang, apparently John had a copy of the original Mopai book, which goes through all of the 72, I think it is, stages of Mopai. And what's his name? One of the fellas that trained under him asked him about this, but he didn't copy the book, sadly. If we could ever get a copy of that book, that'd be very nice, but I don't know. Someone would have to do some real legwork to get that book. But in there you would have things like this, for example. You would have all these stages. But the best record really, or the best kind of thing we have now is it's all throughout wuxia stories, wuxia Chinese kind of cultivation stories, which are fictional, of course. But some of them, are written by people who are interested in this stuff. So they put, teachings and riddles and all kinds of stuff in there that they know that they've actually practiced. Like a lot of the people who write the stories, they practice this stuff themselves. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah. So anyway, let me get into these so you can really understand how this stuff works. Now, first one is body training. So this just means physical exercise. Squats, push-ups, sit-ups, running is pretty much the most basic training that you can do. Of course, there are other things like bridges, there are pull-ups. These are all good. You could use weights, deadlifts and overhead press and bench press and all this. You pretty much want to do just a full body routine, and essentially you can't really house energy within the body very well. At least everyone's excuse me, everyone's got energy in their body. It's just very small amounts. Your average person, you're not going to feel much of an aura from. Every so often you'll have a person who's more, they've got something to them, they've got some kind of zazz to them, and maybe they're really charismatic, or they're really good at, like, I don't know, they're really intelligent or really strong or something, and you'll feel a different feeling to them than a regular person. They have more energy, they have more cultivation naturally, because this stuff can happen naturally. It's just you can, of course, force it or train it or whatever. So anyway, body training. And of course, lower, mid, upper, and peak. If you can, let's say you can lift like half your body weight above your head, that's pretty good. Maybe if you can do a bit more than that, then you've kind of, well, actually, I probably shouldn't go through weight. Your body training relates to the development of all of the muscles in your body, the development of the bones, all that kind of stuff. you can actually get this down pretty young and pretty early. You know, a person who trains like sports and athleticism and weightlifting, whatever, throughout there, if they're young, they can get this down pretty quick. That's why you see some people, they're like, you know, 18, 19, 20, and they look like they're 30 because they're so physically cultivated. Maybe there's steroids involved, but you know, they're just so jacked. So anyway, yeah, just basic exercise essentially to get your body to the state where it can handle energy exercises. And you know, to an extent, all of these ranks are blurred in between. You know, how can you really say one ends and one starts? You can to an extent, but you know, there is blurring, there is, you know, all that kind of stuff. But eventually, if you train your body enough, you'll just get to the point where you'll be like, okay, I'm kind of ready to do the next one, which is chi refining or energy refining, which is, I believe at least, working with the lower Dantian point or the lower energy center, which is pretty much, you can call it, it's in the Vedic, they call it Khanda, the Khanda center. It's halfway between your arsehole and your genitals essentially, and your belly button. It's in between those points, okay? And you can kind of think the belly, it's actually lower than that. This is the belly, right? And this is the pubic region. In between the belly and the pubic region, you've kind of got an area of space there. And if you go inside the body, so you know, belly, pubic region here, and there's kind of indentation, and you've got like, I guess you've got your butt like there, inside here, and you know, the belly button's there, inside this kind of area. And this would be like the base of the body here, I guess. You've got this region. Now, once you feel it, it kind of feels like a light, and there's like a center of lightness that just has lots of energy, kind of almost like it gives you energy. It gives you a nice rushing energy, and you focus there, and you can focus on the whole body as well, and you'll you know, you'll be able to spread your energy through the body and feel the body's energy channels. Like right now I'm doing it, and you know, I can feel a kind of stimulation or pulsation of this area, and the whole body is my whole body. You know, I can feel my energy channels and the body running through it with energy. This is the chi refining stage, where you pretty much just focus on that center. If you have too much energy, you run it through the meridians. I know at least in Mopai, for example, they keep it in here. They just keep crushing it in. Another technique, you just compress it in here. Just keep compressing it. That kind of works. You know, it does give you problems. It gives you excessive pressure on the meridians, and then yeah, it's not so nice. So I don't recommend that. I recommend if you feel like you've been here too long and you just feel like excessive pulsation and, you know, excessive heat and tension, and it's not so good, you know, flow it out the meridians, or you know, stop practicing. So you do that for a while to kind of get in touch with your body's energy. Then number 2 are foundations. I believe, at least this is what I believe, you know. I mean, just tell you right now, I don't have a special book to tell me what any of this means. This is just what I found out. So if that works for you, then, you know, keep listening. Foundation, I believe, is actually the anus region. You've got 2 main meridians. Alright, this is your asshole, right? You've got back here, so the tailbone's coming down here. You've got the GV1 or governor vessel 1, and then the perineum region, the genitals, you know, they're over here. This is like a reverse bird's eye view, so looking directly at someone's asshole. Just FYI. You've got the CV1, which is the perineal point, so just say towards the front of your body, like, you know, here is CV1, and towards, you know, the back, behind your asshole, and behind and below your tailbone, you've got the GV1. Some systems that I've read of cultivate them one by one, but you can just focus at your arsehole essentially and just relax the the focus, and then pretty much that will be what I believe at least is foundation, or foundation establishment, foundation building. It's called many different things. It all means the same thing really. That's what I believe this is. FYI, I'm at this point. I wish I was at that point, but I'm pretty much, I'm getting there. And of course, as I said, there's lower, mid, and upper. Probably just, if you're interested, I'm probably like a mid-level foundation practitioner. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too great. It's not too bad. At the end of the day. So anyway, that is foundation, where essentially what you're doing is you're going downwards. You're from your dantian, because once you've stabilized the dantian point, your lower energy center, and you'll stabilize it, because you'll just naturally always have that energy. Worst case, you'll just have to re-stimulate it and refocus on it and go back to this. Maybe if you thought your foundation, you have to go back here and refocus on it until you've got enough energy. But again, if you keep having like too much energy from the dantian point, excuse me, and you feel like it's developed and it's been done, and you go down to the root point, which is foundation, and the root point takes a while to build up. I don't know how long it's going to take. Like, hopefully I'll get this done in a few months, or as quick as possible. Maybe I'll really grind it out as I've been feeling I should, and get it done quickly. But basically you're building up the asshole is like the foundation of the body. It's the root of the whole body. Everything connects to it, so to speak, or it's the energy ground. So your asshole is your energy ground. You're sitting, it's energy ground. You're standing, the feet are like the root of the body, the feet. So again, that's another relation. You can kind of focus on the feet to some extent, but you can focus on the root point and then the feet, or the legs, the whole legs. That kind of works as well. But basically you're building that up. You'll feel once it's fully cultivated, and you'll feel like it slowly get more and more how do you say it? I don't know a word to describe it, but it just feels like there's angles of everything. There's different angles, and you'll feel the angles. You'll feel like, okay, that one's done, that one's done, that one's done. Just slowly you'll get all the angles, and that's another way to understand levels of sub-levels, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Sub-levels within cultivation is to understand the angles of whatever you're cultivating. That can be like that, or it'll just feel different. Number 3, golden core. I believe that is the belly, the whole belly region. That is the golden core. Now, interesting little thing, you can actually do any of these levels at any time, so to speak. But what happens, like I've formed a core before. Like I've done this. This is how I know this shit is, that's how I can speak on it. I can't speak on a lot of these. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know most of these ones. I'm gonna like try to tell you what I know and try to assume some things, but if I haven't done it, I really can't tell you. But I have tried this, I have done this. What happens is that if you form a core, well, you haven't got the foundation down, or you don't have, chi refining, which is basically you just have a wellspring of energy. If you don't have that energy continuously forming, you can't form the foundation. Like, you can eat a shitload of pills, a shitload of energy pills made out of ginseng and reishi mushroom and whatever else nice energy tonic you have, but eventually it's gonna dry up, it's gonna degrade, because your body draws energy from all of these things. If you don't have it solidified and cemented, it's gonna draw energy from. Same way, even if you form a core, because what happens is that the way you form a core is you just kind of focus on the belly and you pull in energy to the belly and you kind of compress it and densify it within your whole, you know, belly region, and it'll form this kind of energetically dense center, like sphere of energy within your belly. It's very interesting. And the problem is, if you can't keep feeding it, because you need to keep feeding it, it's like it's slowly, well, actually it's kind of just, you know, gets stronger and stronger and denser and denser and denser, so to speak, the more you feed it. If you can't feed it, then it dissipates. It just, you know, it just, you have to reform it. It just goes to nothing, essentially. So that's why if you haven't got these two down, then you can't, then it'll just, you know, go nowhere. that's why, as I said, you can try to do these higher ranks, but they will, you know, you can try to reach enlightenment. As you know, I've done that before. I've reached the enlightenment stage, but it goes away if you don't have the lower things built up. So yeah, an interesting thing. Anyway, that's golden core. You basically just form a core in your belly and you just kind of densify it and compress it energetically, and you'll get there. Now, nascent soul, I think this is the heart region. I think it is. Nascent soul means, like, I believe this is what they call the internal baby. You know, if Mantak Chia talks about it as like a baby within you. It's a kind of weird thing, to be completely honest, you know, the way they call it. But I'm pretty sure it's the middle dantian here. Here's middle dantian. We are trying to open up the middle dantian, and what I believe happens is that the middle dantian takes the maybe the golden core's energy and it converts it up. So firstly, it's you're basically, here, I'm going to do this in another pen and I'm going to do it smaller just so it's easier to see. What you're doing is, first you're forming the energy center, which, you know, it kind of I don't know, spirals energy through the body. It kind of moves energy through the body. Then you're moving it down to the root, right, to build up that foundation, the physical foundation of the body. Then once that's built, you're building up the core, right? And this is what they call earth level immortal. You're not actually immortal, but it's like, as far as things go, you can probably live, I think they say you live up to like 300 years once you've got this down. If you're just body training, you'll live up to, like, you know, 70, maybe if you're lucky 90 years. You know, you'll live a decent life. This is people who've done like physical labor. You know, they as long as their bodies aren't fucked up from that, they're, you know, pretty strong, live well. Terrifying. You probably get about 10, 20, max 30 extra years of life, just because you've got, you know, your energy unlocked. Same thing, foundation, you probably get another 10 to 30. You know, we'll just say average 20 years of life. Golden core, you're probably going to get about 150. I mean, this is, at this stage, they say you start to unlock powers. You know, you haven't unlocked like a higher level of energy, but you will be able to, you know, probably start externalizing energy and really start, you know, maybe you basically, you'd get like a force push or pull or some pretty cool shit, I imagine, once you kind of unlock this level. And it's Hortian, or pre-heaven. Now once we start getting into nascent soul, once we get beyond the, you know, golden core into nascent soul, you get into Shantian, or post-heaven. So you can think kind of around here, this is like Earth, and this is heaven, or the sky. You know? Here, right, sky and Earth. So you build up this center, and then you go upwards to the next. To essentially, you ascend to lower heaven. You ascend to the lower levels of heaven here, and it converts the energy because you've already built up all of this. You've built up these areas and these centers. Now it's like a water. Water is filling the cup. It's slowly filling the cup up. You've filled it up to this point where you can now convert your kind of more denser energy into a lighter, more spiritual energy. Okay? Through the middle Dantian center. Now, deity transformation, you know, I guess they called that because you essentially, this is some call like demigod level. You're basically becoming, you know, a demigod is the best way I can say it. And some systems, they have nascent soul, and then they just have like one or two other. Now, of course, this one has, you know, a few others, so I'll just kind of, you know, assume what I can. So whether you work with like the throat chakra or something like that, I'm not sure. I imagine tribulation, that could be related to the throat. Again, I'm not sure. Integration, is that the mid-head? I don't know. I imagine Great Ascension would be the crown. Then one of these is going to be the third eye. This is enlightenment. So I'll just kind of average it. All right, I'll just kind of like make up our own stuff to, you know, to assume. This would be like demigod. Demigod. This would be enlightenment, or this would be, you know, ascension. So once you've built this up, I don't know if there's something you have to do something with the throat or whatever to convert the energy up, because I know that this area around the back of the head is a pump. So somehow you have to, this is like you have to break through the pump, so to speak, or you have to, you know, there's probably a level around here. It could be again, you could have if we're just going off some things, it could be potentially the tribulation. I'm not sure, but anyway, so you keep filling this cup up, and it would eventually refine from lower heavenly energies to upper heavenly energies, which again would make you a demigod essentially, because at this point, you know, you would unlock higher levels of magic essentially, because this is the mind and imagination. You've already got all the energy. This is probably when you start like manifesting objects and all that kind of crazy shit. And as I said, I've experienced this kind of enlightenment level. If you focus at the head long enough, you just get to that point where it's like ultimate sensory control essentially, is the best way I can put it. And then after that, again, you know, you go upwards. Ascension, what is happening is you're raising everything to the highest peak, because you've built it up, ascending to the highest peak, which, you know, you've basically you've won the game. Or you could say this, you know, the final level is everything, you know, the whole body, the zero, or the one and the zero, you know, the everything and nothing. You can, of course, say that. Maybe there's something like that. I don't know. Or you just kind of reach the peak and you're good. But anyway, hopefully you got something out of this and you can understand this. I'll tell you what the upper ranks mean once I've got there. Is the best way I can describe it. Anyway. So, of course, check the links in the description if you're interested in social commercial stuff. I just opened sell.app shop, which is, you can buy stuff with crypto, and PayPal if that's what you use. Otherwise, if you use bank, just check out my Gumroad, and of course, have a nice day.